Hey guys, it's me again. Today is not your average Flosstube video. I thought I would do kind of a tag-a-thon while I do some stitching. No, you don't get to see what I'm stitching on. It's down here. I'll show you that. That's all you need to know. You're probably just seeing what I was working on. But anyway, there's not going to be anything to show. There's not going to be anything to show this video, so if you're like me, if you just like to listen to your Flosstube while stitching, this would be a perfect video for you, because there's not going to be anything to look at. And I just spilled all my threads. Sorry, guys. I thought I would do some stitching on Lost Boys for a little while I do this. And we'll see how many tags I get through. I kind of have them pulled up on my phone right here. I have this Teresa the Left-Handed Stitcher. Trisha, sorry. God. Trisha the Left-Handed Stitcher's Realm of Randomness. She has assembled all of the tags that's floating around Flosstube. I don't know if she's updated it recently, but I mean, I think January may have been the last time she updated it, but there's still plenty of tags to tackle, so that's what I'm gonna do. Just trying to figure out where to start here. And I apologize, I may have to kind of go back and forth on if I've done a tag or not, if I'm not sure. Okay, I think this is a good place to start here. I'm going to start with the Stitcher Moose tag. First question, well, first of all, Stitcher Moose, this was originally posted on 14th of November, 2014. First question is, do you have some favorite holiday or other traditions? I wouldn't say a favorite holiday tradition, but my grandmother used to make these sweet potato ball things, and later on in her life, she did kind of pass it down on to me so that I could make them, because I asked her for the recipe because I wanted to start making them. But it's mashed canned yams, and you mix in pineapple and a little bit of coconut, and then you roll it up into a ball and coat it in more coconut flakes and kind of heat it up in the oven briefly, just enough to kind of get melty and brown. Oh yeah, I left out the marshmallows. There's marshmallows in there too. Mashed yams, marshmallow, pineapple chunks, and roll it up and coat it in coconut flakes and heat it up so it gets kind of melty and gooey and delicious, and that's it. So simple. It's a holiday tradition for me. So, well, my dad's side of the family, I always try to make them whenever I can, whenever I go to a family gathering for holidays, either Thanksgiving or Christmas. And they love them. My dad and my sister, we know about them, we grew up on them, so we always love them to death. And the good thing about them is they're actually good cold too, which not a lot of dishes like that are. So it's good to cool. So I mean, you don't even really need to reheat it. So that's one of my favorite traditions. My family doesn't really have a lot of traditional traditions. I don't know how you would say it, but they don't. And I'm trying to think how often we get together. I mean, it's hard for me to get together with them just because I don't live in the area. So, I'm trying to, what the heck did I do here? I think I know. Did I? I think I may have filled in these. Yeah, I think I actually... Who knew? Apparently I did some stitches and forgot to actually mark them off. I find out where my little bag went to. I just had it. I thought I just had it. There it is. Oh, I apologize. Apparently I wasn't ready. I thought I was, but I wasn't. Oops. Okay. Hold on, guys. I did all these stitches and completely forgot about them. Okay. I was doing a row of stitches and I completely forgot about it. Okay. Now I think I'm caught up with where I'm supposed to be. Okay. Continuing on with, what did I say? Okay. Continuing on with Stitch Your Moose's tag. Question number 2, what is the origin of your YouTube channel name? Originally I was having to go by my regular name, but I thought it was a little boring, so I did change it. And I changed it to Covered in Cat Hair because apparently all my stuff ends up getting covered in cat hair, even though I only have one cat. It's just impossible to keep this crap off of my stuff, and it's highly annoying. So yeah, it's a very simple explanation, and that's because all my stuff gets coated in cat hair some way or another. Number 3, last question. Besides music, what else do you listen to? Podcasts, radio shows, audiobooks, etc. At the current time, I don't really listen to anything else. I may listen to YouTube on the way home from work, because I have like a 30-minute drive each way. So I will listen to, and the music I have to listen to at work is horrible. I don't like listening to it. It's a lot of like rap and hip hop, and it's just not my thing. So, coupled with the fact that I have to hear these songs each day, 5 or 6 times each day, it doesn't help. So, when I get the chance, a lot of times I will listen to my rock music. And I don't know if anybody realizes this, but something that I just found out is that YouTube will have entire albums on them. So if you wanted to say listen to for instance, Fleetwood Mac. If you wanted to listen to one of their albums, you just type in, the name of the band, and a lot of times, there'll be different options that comes up, like each album name, and then you click on that album, and just there'll be like a playlist of each song from the album. It'd be like an audio video. It's not really a video, but it's just an audio of that of each song. I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I normally listen to, like on the way home. I used to listen to audiobooks, but with the phone I have currently, when I got this phone last year, it doesn't really allow room for much, so I wasn't able to continue my what do you call it? The Audible. I think it's Audible. I wasn't allowed to continue my Audible subscription, so I canceled it. But I've actually been thinking recently, of picking that back up pretty soon, because I think I'm going to end up going to Verizon and getting a phone. Getting another phone that has like a lot more storage room on it, and when I do, then I'm downloading Audible again, and I'm rejoining my subscription, because I liked listening to audiobooks on the drive home, or on long drives, because it's a story. It's listening to a story. And getting information is almost like feeling cultured on the drive home. So, sorry. And that's all for Stitcher Moose's tag. The next one is a Panda tag. It was originally posted by StitchingPanda on January 15th of 2015. And the first question, First question: if you were a fairy tale or book character, what or who would you be and why? Who would I be? I would probably be, I don't know. I've got a thing. I love the show Castle. Or I did love the show Castle. It just recently ended. And they also, the books that the character writes in the show, they've actually published in real life. And so I think to be any character in a book, I would probably be that Nikki Heat woman. Did people ever watch the show Castle? The title character Castle, who is on the show, he's played by God, what is his name? I just brain farted big time here. Nathan Fillion. He's portrayed by Nathan Fillion, and he's an author, and he writes books. Up until he meets the detective Kate Beckett, he was writing about another character called Derek Storm. Well, he kills off Derek Storm and starts writing about a female cop character by the name of Nikki Heat. So they decided to, in real life, they decided to release these books as actual books. And I'm not gonna lie, I've actually read a couple, and they're cheesy in that you know that they're written by a TV character. It's kind of a weird setup, but it's kind of weird. But if I was going to be any character in any book, I would be Nikki Heat, because she's a cop, she's a strong woman, and you know, if the character of Kate Beckett is any indication of who this woman is, I like her. So, and because she's fun. She's fun, she's hot, she's sexy. She gets, you know, she's pleased, so she gets to see excitement every day. So, and it's a very strange answer. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, I'd want to be so and so from a Jane Austen novel." Nope, not interested in those. Sorry, I'm very modern. Number 2, have you ever gotten a cross stitch pattern because of that book or fairy tale? I do get cross stitch patterns because I love, I would get a cross stitch pattern because I love a book or a fairy tale. But I don't think they make any, Castle or Nikki Heat cross stitch patterns. So yeah. So I mean, but I have gotten cross stitch patterns for like Little Mermaid and I have a lot of like pop culture cross stitch patterns. I mean, that's the only one I can really say. The only cross stitch pattern I've gotten because of this fairy tale is Little Mermaid, and that's because she's really the only one I like. That one and Aladdin are the only ones I really like enough to want to stitch them. But I have to be wowed by how they look. And a lot of things I'm just not wowed by. Like those Disney Dreams ones everyone's getting into. It's just not really my thing. My phone. Number 3, what is the most unique place you've brought your cross stitching? Not really most unique. I mean, the only place I take it other than home is work, and I may take it on trips. Like when I go to North Carolina, that's the only other place I've taken it. So not really anything unusual. And lastly, number 4, what is your most favorite pattern in your stash? And it does ask, can you show it to us? I can't show it to you right now. My favorite pattern in my stash right now, God, I have, if you're talking about either loose patterns or in books, I'm trying to think what my favorite pattern is right now. I don't have one favorite. I have several that I love to death, to pieces, but I just cannot seem. God, why is this? And this, folks, is why I don't like stitching on white Aida. This is why I stitch on Aida other than white. Because it's 16 count and it's still showing through. The stitches are still like, they're still running there. But back to the question. Back to the question at hand. What's my favorite pattern in your stash? My favorite pattern right now? I have several lavender and lace, and those are nice. Those are really nice. Favorite pattern in my stash? It's probably a digital pattern that I have. It's called Quiet Solitude. It's a Heaven and Earth. I don't remember right off the bat who the designer is. But it's a gorgeous piece. I will get to stitch on it one day. Couldn't tell you when, but I will one day. So yeah, I guess that's my answer. And like I said, no, I'm not going to show it to you because I promised you guys that you wouldn't have to see anything. If you really want to see what it looks like, you might want to go back a few videos to when Reid had their sale, their half off sale, and I bought a few because I can't resist a half off sale. I don't remember right off the bat which one it was, so I apologize for that. But yeah, that would probably be it. My favorite pattern right now in my stash is probably going to be Quiet Solitude by Heaven and Earth. And my favorite foreseeable one that I will probably stitch in the near future it's actually another Reid. I'm really wanting to try to start stitching it soon, but I'm trying to get my lips down first. It's actually the it's another Reid, let's put it that way. It's Good Morning or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. I apologize. Yeah, I actually have several favorite ones, but it's really hard for me to pick which one is my absolute favorite. But yeah, my Heaven and Earth ones are my favorites. Quiet Solitude, Rise and Shine, that's the name of the pattern, Rise and Shine, and Geisha are all my favorite Heaven and Earth designs. And then I have several Lavender and Lace, which have been calling out to me recently. What else? And then, of course, who can forget the woven cross that was in a recent just cross stitch issue, which I've been trying to stitch, but I can't seem to get the fabric for it. But it'll be coming soon. So that is a Panda Tag. It was originally by StitchingPanda. Next one I'm going to do is Mrs. Bakergirl Tag. And as the name implies, this was done by Mrs. Bakergirl on January 27th, 2015. Number one, how long have you been stitching? I've been stitching about 25 years, give or take. It wasn't constant though. When I started cross stitching, it was very limited, so I would get bored easily, and I had been trying to work on a bird sampler for my son, and because it was very boring and it was the only thing I knew, it was 14 count Ada, it was very childlike and just wasn't my style at all. I really hated working on it, and I actually never finished it. And I know that it can be seen in one of my earlier videos, so if you want to, you can go check that out. It'll be the title of it'll be the one that has the title of "Look What I Found" in it. So Uh, and I didn't really get into cross stitching like full time until last year. Um, so I've really only been stitching about a year full time, but I've known how to cross stitch. I learned the basics of cross stitch about 25 years ago. Um, give or take. I wouldn't say 30 years, maybe 30 years ago. Because I remember being in elementary school. It had to have been at least maybe 5th or 6th grade, so it's been a while. That I actually learned how, I learned basic cross stitch from my grandmother, but really not much more than that. And I didn't really get into it much until last year. So up until last year, I was actually newbie. Like, I didn't really know much about cross stitching at all. I didn't know about all this culture, this whole culture that we have going on here. Number 2, what is your favorite thing bought for cross stitching purposes? My favorite thing bought for cross stitching, that would probably be my Q-snaps. I mean, I know it's a simple answer, but it really is. I mean, I use my Q-snaps as often as possible. I only have one 8-inch and I have one 11-inch. I do have that 14-inch that I got from my dad, and probably something that's around a 17 or 18-inch as well, but I haven't even taken that one out of the bag. But my favorite one is my Q-snaps, especially my my 8-inch and my 11 inches. Those are my favorites. I love them. I'm actually going to be getting more as soon as I can. If you could do a Disney cross stitch, what would it be? Probably more than likely it's going to be something Little Mermaid, because she's the only one I really care about. I also like Aladdin too, but a lot of it I find not appealing to me. So I haven't seen a lot of Aladdin cross stitches at all. Not a lot of Aladdin cross stitch patterns. So I think that would be interesting to see. But as you all guys know, my love for Little Mermaid, that would be my Disney cross stitch. Number 4, of all the cross stitch magazines and books, what is your favorite? I do like just cross stitch. I mean, I get on the average at least one pattern out of every magazine, sometimes more. But at least I have that. I haven't gotten enough. Like, I've seen a good bit of like the British ones, but I don't know, I'm kind of scared to buy it because I do notice a lot of their designs are very cutesy, and while that's fine occasionally, I don't like all cutesy cross stitch patterns. So there's that. Yeah, I guess you could say just cross stitch. That's the one I have the most experience with right now. And that one was that. That's all of that one. Come on now. There we go. Let's skip ahead. guess I will do the stitching style tag. Make sure I haven't already done that one. Okay, that one's safe. The stitching style tag, originally posted by Reid on May 11th, 2015. Question number 1, what is your favorite fabric? If you had asked me last year, I probably would have said Ada. But now, and actually just recently discovered, my favorite fabric has actually become Jobelin. Preferably like a 32 count Jobelin, but I'll also take a 28 count Jobelin because it's just so soft, and yeah, that's all I can say about it. It's just so soft and it's so nice to work with. I don't mind linens, even weave's fine in general, like Lugana is fine, but I've recently fallen in love with Jobelin. Number 2, do you use a hoop or frame? I use both. I use hoops and frames. As I mentioned before, I have an 8-inch, I have one 8-inch Q-snap, an 11-inch Q-snap, a 14-inch, and then I also have a 10-inch hoop, and I have 2 6-inch hoops, and then all 3 of my hoops are plastic. I don't use the wooden ones because I'm scared that it's going to snag the fabric. Number 3, do you use a stand or just hold your frame? No stands, obviously. I do have like 2 stands, but I can't seem to find one that really works for me. So a lot of times I just end up holding it in hand. It's what I'm used to. It's what I'm comfortable with for the time being. That's what I do. What is your favorite time to stitch? I will stitch all day if I can. My favorite time to stitch is actually earlier in the day. Because I seem to have more stitchy go earlier in the day. So yeah, earlier in the day, yeah. But days like today, like on my off days, I will stitch all day if I could. But sometimes adulting gets in the way, so you can't stitch all day like you want to. Number 5, do you use a printed paper copy of your chart or digital? I prefer paper copies because I can mark on them. But if it's not too difficult of a pattern, I will use, I'm fine with digital. I will just have it saved on my Google Drive, and I can pull it up from my phone or my iPad or my laptop, whichever I happen to be on, and work on it there, wherever I happen to be. But ideally I do prefer paper charts. Number 6, are you a floss licker? Heck yes, I am a floss licker. While I have my eyesight, I'm a floss licker. Number 7, do you hoard or buy supplies as needed? Both, really. You guys have all seen that I will buy fabric like there's no tomorrow, but I do, if I know I'm gearing up to start a particular pattern, I will go ahead and buy the supplies for that. as needed, just randomly. Number 8, what is your favorite floss? I am DMC all the way. I have yet to try anything else other than DMC, so I will return to this question when I have other experience. Actually, I take that back. I do, I've worked with the Classic Colorworks and the Weeks Dye Works for a couple of patterns, the Lizzie Kate patterns, and the Little House Needleworks pattern. I like them okay. The quality wise, I don't see any difference between them and DMC. Just the variegated, you have to stitch 1x at a time, and I don't like doing that. If I can avoid it, I don't like doing that. So, I like just DMCs. I know how to work with it. I know how to get around it. The quality. Number 9, are you a serial starter or do you have a whip at a time? Kind of in between. I can't do one whip at a time, but I also can't have as many as I have right now. That's why I'm trying to work some of my whips down, which I'm going to be after June. I am going to work some of them down to a comfortable, I would say 4 or 5, if possible. I don't like having a ton of whips, but I can't work on just one at a time because I get bored easily. Just the one whip at a time. And you want to have something different to pull out. Like some days you may feel like one particular thing, and other days you feel like another particular thing. So, kind of in the middle of that one. Do you have more FFOs or UFOs? I only have a couple of UFOs. So I would definitely say more FFOs, even though I really don't have like a few FFOs. So actually, if it's not the same amount, it's running close. I think I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 actual FFOs. And that's something I forgot. I just recently remembered about. There was a pattern kit that I did for my mom years ago that I actually did finish, and she has hanging in her bathroom. That's one thing I forgot. But I think actually she framed it. So 3.5. And I think I have 1, 2, 3 FFOs. 3 UFOs. Which was my baby sampler, that little tiger thing, and my first attempt at the Dale Earnhardt Jr. pattern. So it's running about neck and neck right now, actually. Number 11, do you watch TV while stitching? Not usually. I will, since I'm usually around my laptop while I'm stitching, I'm usually watching something on my laptop, whether it be Flosstube or Hulu or Amazon. Dirty little secret here, dirty little confession. I ended up subscribing to Amazon Prime several weeks ago. It was kind of inadvertent. But I used the opportunity. I subscribed inadvertently while I was placing the order for my bobbins and stuff, and I couldn't cancel. If I had canceled, I wouldn't have gotten a refund on it anyway. So, yeah, I was kind of stuck with it. So I figured, hey, if I'm not going to be able to get a refund on it, I might as well keep it for the year and see how I like it. So I am taking advantage of the Doctor Who on Amazon Prime, and I am rewatching Doctor Who right now. And I didn't notice the first time around that episode with the space Titanic. It had Kylie Minogue in it. Don't know why I didn't think about that. Don't know why I didn't notice. I thought she looked a little familiar, but it never occurred to me that that was Kylie Minogue, because I don't really listen to her music. I've seen a couple of her videos. I like a couple of her songs, but I'm not a big enough fan that I would have recognized her in any other genre if her name hadn't been mentioned. So, didn't know that. But yeah, I'm usually watching Doctor Who or whatever. I'm usually watching Amazon, Flosstube, network shows on Hulu when the seasons are going. So one of those two. I don't watch a lot of Netflix. I have a subscription, but I don't watch it a lot. Other people in my household watch it more than I do. That's why I keep it. And it is good for some things sometimes. So yeah, I don't watch TV, but I'll watch something. I'll watch something on my computer. Okay. Number 12, do you mostly stitch alone, or do you ever get together with someone to stitch? I mostly stitch alone because I don't know anybody that's in my area. I don't know anybody personally. I've never gotten together with anybody to stitch, so I mostly stitch alone right now. Hoping to start joining in some fellow stitchers soon. Number 13, do you like to experiment and alter things with your charts, or do you stitch them just as written? For the most part, I will stitch them as written, but I am not afraid to change little minute details if I need to. Like my Fast and Furious one that I did, sorry, hope nobody heard that. And like my Fast and Furious one, I'm not afraid to change little things. Like I changed his eye color on the Paul. It was the Clouds Factory. Was it Clouds Factory pattern? I changed the eye color of Paul Walker's little character body to blue because Paul Walker has had these amazing blue eyes, and so I couldn't stitch his eyes black like the rest of them. They had to be blue. They had to be in your face, bright, beautiful blue. I'm not afraid to change little things if it's something that doesn't require a lot of work. Like you see, like I wanted to change the quote in that same pattern, but it was just a lot of work to rechart it, so I didn't bother. It just depends on the pattern, really. I'm not afraid to change like little tiny details, but something major I probably would stick away from. Do you bobbinate floss or not? Yes, I do. When I get the opportunity. Sorry, there's gonna be some brown coming up here soon. When I get the opportunity, I do bobbinate. I thought I wasn't going to bobbinate, but then I started getting into it. Hey, you know, if I watch something while I'm bobbinating, it won't seem as bad. So it's actually kind of fun. Number 15, do you start a project in the middle of your fabric or at the corner? Depends on the project. If it's a bigger project like my Lost Boys here or Reid, I will start in the corner. If it's smaller, I usually start in the middle. Just depends on each individual project. Number 16, do you have a whip rotation? Not per se. I work on what I feel like working on, but I do try to get in as many different projects as I can each week, just so I can have something to show for it. So not a strict whip rotation. I don't know how well that would work for me because it would make me feel confined. Like, oh, it's Tuesday, I have to work on Pokemon. Oh, it's Wednesday, I have to work on Love and Faithfulness. You know, I don't want to do that. I want to work on what I want to feel like working on. So, no, I don't have whip rotation, and I probably never will. Number 17, do you use a timekeeper to keep track of how long it takes you to complete a project? No. I work on it when I work on it, and I finish it when I finish it. I don't care how long it takes. I do use Stitch I will write down when I started it and when I finish, but that's it. That's as much time as I like to devote to figuring out how long it takes me to complete something. Number 18, do you use the parking technique? Nope. Can't say I do, can't say I ever will, because it's just too freaking confusing, and I would get lost in which thread goes to what. All that messiness is not appealing to me. I thought at one time that I wanted to park, but I don't. And I am so good with how I do things cross country. You know, I don't mind. It gets done either way. Number 19, do you keep your orts? No. I throw them away. They end up all over my floor and all over my bed. And eventually I might gather them together and put them in the trash. I don't see a reason to keep them. I don't have little ornament balls to put them in. And I'm not going to, because that would require me hanging on to them for a year. So not going to happen. At least not in the foreseeable future. And number 20, do you like to have a snack or drink while stitching? I will keep a drink nearby, as you can see. But as far as snacking, if I have to have a snack, I will step away. I will put my stitching like away from where I'm at. Like I'll put it over to the side, or you know, I'll put it to the side of where I'm sitting at, or I will go in a different area, and then I'll make sure my hands are clean before I go back to it. But I do keep a drink. I do need to keep a drink nearby, especially the summer months, because my throat just stays scratchy like all the time. And that was all of that one. The next one, how long are we at? 50 minutes. Next I'm going to do the Stitchy Mood tag, originally done by Beyond the Keyhole. Never heard of them. Done on May 27th, 2015. 3 questions. Number one, how do you get into the mood to the cross stitch? I stay in the mood. Who are you talking about? I stay in the mood to cross stitch. And if for some reason I'm not in the mood to cross stitch, I just won't cross stitch. Because I do spend a lot of the day at work stitching most days. So by the time I get home, I just don't feel like stitching anymore, so I will just do something else. At the very least, I will bobbinate, or I will do something, organize in some way. Number three, how do you prepare to stitch? I don't really know how to respond to that. How do I prepare to stitch? I get in bed, I get my little baggie that I keep all my stuff, my little small supplies in. It's actually like a small makeup type bag, but I kind of use it for my highlighters, my scissors, and my thread heaven is in there, my needle threader, my extra needles, all that lovely stuff. I'll get that out, and I'll get my stitching out that I want to work on, and I'll just get comfortable and put them on the frame, on the Q snap or the frame, and I just start stitching. I mean, there's not much to it. So yeah, that's it. Really, that's it. Wait a minute. Ah, crud. See, I got distracted. Lovely people distracted me. Gotta take out a stitch back here. Number three, how do you motivate yourself to get stitching any bothersome project? If I know that I need to stitch on something, like I'm stitching on Lost Boys right now, I won't really think about it. I'll just do it. Like, I'll just say screw it, and I will take it out, and I will just thread it up and start going. Because the more I start thinking about how much I don't want to stitch on something, the worse it is for me. So I will just do that. I will just like pull something out and start stitching on it without even really thinking about it. And the truth is, a lot of times once I can get started on something, it doesn't bother me so much. Like, it really doesn't bother me to stitch on it as much as I was afraid it would. As much as thinking about starting it bothered me. So, yeah. But the hard part about that is, if I have to pause and take a break, am I going to feel like going back to it? So that's the hard question. Am I going to be able to bring myself to go back to it? So, yeah, how do I tackle it? I just do it. And that's all for that one. Then I'm going to do the Curiosity tag. It was originally posted by Donna Murray on May 30th, 2015. How long have you been stitching? That's another one. I've been stitching for 25 years. Let's see, if I started in 25, that means I would have been 12. Yeah, that would mean I would have been about 12. So 25 to 27 years, give or take. Do you prefer framing your projects or making them into cushions or wall hangings? I'll just stick them in a frame. I would prefer to just stick them in a frame and be done with them. Too much extra stuff is just going to turn me off. Number 3, do you have a favorite designer? Not one favorite designer. Like, I think if somebody has a favorite designer, I think they need to love the vast majority of what they do, the vast majority of their patterns. If I could say I have a favorite designer, it would be Rosewood Manor, but I don't love all their patterns. I like maybe about half their patterns, and one day I will stitch one. But as far as having an ultimate favorite designer, I don't really. Number 4, what is the most you have paid for a design, fabric, and floss? Most I paid for a design is probably going to be my my Bluebell Fairy. And I think it was, gosh, how much did I say she was? I don't even remember how much I paid for her. That's sad. I want to say she was like $20-something. So that would be the most expensive pattern I've ever bought. Fabric? I don't even remember, to be honest. Because linens are pretty expensive if you order them, you know, just straight out. I take that back. I am going to take that back. Probably the most expensive fabric I ever bought was about $30-something from the LNS in South Carolina when I went back in March and visited, and I bought like 5 or 6 pieces of fabric, and there was one of the larger piece of fabric, and I actually believe it was the Crystal Ariel cashel that I bought there, and I believe it was about $30-something, about $30, and that was the most I've ever paid for fabric. But it was nice being able to see these linens in person and be able to feel them and see what they're like in person. And I probably never would have purchased it if it had just been online, especially for something that up to that point, I had never worked on linen before. So it's probably something I never would have purchased if I had just been looking at it online. What is the longest you have stitched on one project in one day? Oh, I'll stitch on them all day. I'll routinely, especially at work, I'll stitch on them. I started on them as early as 10:30, and I'll go as late as 8:45 or 8:50 or 8:55, and I close at 9. I open at 10 and I close at 9. So I've literally stitched the better part of the day on projects, but I do get interrupted during the day. So I mean, it's continuously working on one project, but not continuously stitching on one day. I don't know if that makes any sense, but continuously working on a project for the most part, between 10 and about 10 hours, give or take. That's the longest I've ever spent. And that's probably the reason I come home and I don't feel like stitching anymore. Number 6, do you have any FFOs where you have major mistakes in them, but only you would notice? I did have the mistake in my sister's Lizzie Kate, ABCs of Parenting, but I don't remember if I mentioned to her that there was a mistake or not, but there was a mistake where the I believe it's where there's a book and a key in the pattern, a key above a stack of 2 books, and they're kind of off by a stitch, and it's a mistake that I know about. Sorry about that. Apparently my video only records an hour at a time. But what I was saying, Oh, the FFOs. Yeah, my sister's project. It's been one of the few FFOs, major FFOs that I've had, and yes, there's a mistake in it. But I know where it's at, but I don't think she would ever be able to tell because she's not a stitchy person, and one, she doesn't know what the pattern looks like. So, number 7, what is your favorite project you have finished or most proud of? That would be one of them. That one and my mom's project that I did for her around the same time. Yeah, because I think they're gorgeous. I really do. The framing helped a lot. The framing brought out the stitching. But FFOs. I do like my Fast and Furious one though. I like all my finishes, but as far as fully finished objects, probably be those two. The one I did for my sister, the ABCs of Parenting, and then my mom's, His Name is Jesus. Oh man. Did I just lose this? Okay. Number 8, if you have lost your stitchy bow, what makes it come back? Flosstube. I rarely lose it for very long. Like I was saying, if I lose it, it's because I've been stitching all day, and I'm just tired of stitching for that day. But it'll be back within a day or two, or that next morning. Number 9, do you have to make sure you finish a project, or can you just leave them for months at a time and do new starts? I like to keep working on things. I don't like to leave something for too long. That's why I go back to my psychedelic seahorse every once in a while, because I like to have some kind of progress on it every once in a while. I don't want to leave it for too long, but I also, as many whips as I have right now, I can't work on everything every day. So, and I can't work on everything even every week. So I do like to, if it's something that is not a big deal to me, like the seahorse, then I will at least work on it maybe once a month at the least. Number 10, what is your most hated type of stitch? I haven't done a lot of specialty stitches right now. My most hated type of stitch right now is French knots, because I can't get them even. I can't do them all the same, and that drives me bonkers. But other than that, I've done cross stitches and half stitches and quarter stitches and 3/4 stitches, and I don't mind any of them. I don't mind back stitching, like in the black work and stuff, but I don't like French knots. Do not like French knots. That's all of that one. Next up, we have the Unnormal Tag, and this one was done by Fisch. She did delete the original video because she was feeling a little bit down about herself and about her stitching and her channel and whatnot. But we still love you, Cindy. We still love you. Number 1, what is the strangest place you've ever stitched? Again, the strangest place I've ever stitched is work. Number 2, what is your next favorite hobby? I do like to read. When I'm not stitching, which is most of the time, I do like to read. I sing. I'm a compulsive singer, and if you don't know what a compulsive singer is, they're the people that always want to sing in the car. Even to songs they claim to not like, they'll still sing. And they sing to everything. Number 3, to smoke or not to smoke. I'm not a smoker. Never will be. I have smoked in the past, when I was going through particularly stressful times, but I never got addicted to them. Number 4, what is your favorite social media to share your stitching on? That would be Facebook. And more specifically, Stitchmania on Facebook. But I do try to make an effort to share on the other pages, like Cross Stitch Finish Line and like Sew to Stitch when I'm working on my Sew to Stitch. I do make an effort to share on the other pages, but for the most part, Facebook. Number 5, do you model stitch or have you ever? No, I've never model stitched. I would like to at least give it a try one day, but I don't know how a person gets into that, how they get, like the designer gets in contact with them, or they put their name out there and say, hey, if you need me, I can model stitch, here's my work. I don't know how you would do that, but I would like to at least model stitch one thing in my life before I die, even if I'm 90 years old. 6, wash or no wash? I've never washed a project before, but by the time I get done with Pokemon, I may have to give it a try. These long-term projects may have to get washed. I'm just scared, especially with Lost Boys when the time comes. There's so much red in it, I'm scared it's going to bleed. That's what scares me most about washing, is the color bleeding. So I don't know. I'm going to have to tackle that when I get around to it. When I get done with Pokemon, which will probably be the first large-scale project that I finish. It'll be an adventure. But right now, I've never watched the project. Number 7, if you use a digital program, which do you use? I'm assuming that means to create patterns or read patterns. I haven't created any patterns yet. I did play around with Pick to Pat one time, but I didn't have anything definitive come out of it. And then I just use PDF Reader to read my PDFs. On the computer, the regular laptop, it's fine that I can mark them off as I go, and on my iPad I can mark them off, but on my phone I can't, which is a pain in the butt. Yeah. So, but I haven't made enough patterns. I haven't actually made any patterns, and I use PDF Reader, Adobe PDF Reader to read them. And number 8, what do you do with your finished projects? A lot of times they will get put into a bag, into a pile, until later, until I get in the mood to finish them off. But I do finish them every once in a while. I do, in my mind, I want to finish them off. I want to FFO them. But the actual act of FFOing them is a little bit harder to come by. So that's all for that one. These are really just like short tasks, so I'm doing a lot of them. Yes, I'm looking at them on my phone. I think by the time I finish this one, we'll see. I'll do the Teresa tag, which is done by Teresa Little Stitcher, on July 8th, 2015. Let me get situated back here. Okay. No, that's not where I stopped. Okay, yeah. I see it now. Okay. Question 1. Do seasons affect your stitching pattern? do you stitch less in the summer? No. I stitch, if anything, I probably could stitch less in the winter because I get less time to stitch because I'm more busy at work around the holiday season. But I guess you could say I stitch more the rest of the year. I just stitch less closer to the Christmas holiday. Number 2, do you prefer stitching with a lap stand, on a floor stand, or in hand? Obviously, I'm stitching in hand. Again, I do have a lap stand. I actually have 2, but they're a little bit more difficult to stitch with, in my opinion. I find this in hand more comfortable. Back up here. See, I'm losing where I'm at. It's these darn little brown specks that are getting me. Bad part is I gotta unpick this. That hold on. I'll be there. I promise. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm just more comfortable stitching in hand. Because I can sit back or I can sit forward. With lap stands and stuff, I find myself punching over too much. And it just gets really uncomfortable. So, yeah, in hand would be my preferred stitching. So we are going to skip that one. Number 3, do you prefer stitching with a hoop, Q-snap, frame, or in hand? In this context, I do prefer Q-snaps and hoops. Preferably a Q-snap, but a hoop is not that much far behind. I hold them almost equal. I don't mind stitching with either a Q-snap or a hoop. But I can't get into the hang of stitching them in hand. So that will probably never come to be. Do you use a stitching light or no additional lighting? If yes, do you use a floor light or clip-on light? Right now I don't really have any additional light. I do have a clip-on, but it's really not much help, so I don't use it. So that's why I probably won't be using it right now. And as you can see, it's not that my light is fading, it's that the sun is moving in the sky and the light is coming through in a different way. Number 5, do you use a magnifier? If yes, do you use the one with an arm that clips on or glasses? I don't have a magnifier right now. I've considered getting those little mag eye things that attach to your head, but I don't know. I don't really need it. That's my thing. I don't really need it. The way I stitch, I position myself because I like to have the stitching up. I just like to have the stitching up close to me. Magnifier, don't have one right now, but I've thought about getting one. Do you stitch one-handed, two-handed, or both? I can stitch both, but I'm just more comfortable stitching one-handed. Every once in a while I decided I'll get crazy and decide to switch it up, and I'll stitch two-handed briefly. But it usually doesn't last, I'd say, more than an hour. So there's that. Number 7, do you prefer to stitch alone in a quiet place or around the family and in the living area? I prefer to stitch alone in my room or alone, period. I have stitched around my family, but it is a little distracting. And if you think I'm getting lost in my stitching right now, if I'm messing up now, which I've made like 2 or 3 mistakes already. Yeah, imagine how many mistakes I would have if my family were like creating a bunch of noise around me. So yes, I usually stitch when I'm by myself. If my boyfriend's around, it's usually we're just chilling and not really talking much, you know, just hanging out. But again, that usually doesn't last long. So, number 8, what is your preferred fabric and preferred count of that fabric? I do prefer even weaves. Last year I would have probably said Ada because that's what I was most experienced on. I still don't mind Ada, but I am gravitating more towards even weaves, specifically Jobelin these days. I will get Lugana. I still have a lot of Lugana, but I'm liking Jobelin a lot more these days. Don't get me wrong, I do have a lot of linen. I don't mind linen, but I'm not going to call it my favorite fabric. Yeah. Number 9, in your time stitching, have you ever lost your stitchy bug? If so, how many times have you lost it, and how did you get it back? I haven't really lost it for a long amount of time. If I lose my stitchy bug, it's because stitching caused it. If I lost my stitchy bug, it's because when I majorly messed up on this one piece, I lost my stitchy bug for a couple of days because I was so mad at that particular piece. But it didn't take long for me to get it back. Believe me, it did not take long at all to get it back. I keep being afraid my daughter's going to come home any minute now. Number 10, finally, do you travel and stitch? Would you or do you stitch on public transport, or is it a home hobby only? I don't do public transportation. Don't need to, never have needed to. So I don't do public transportation, so I don't stitch on public transportation. It's hard, it is a little bit difficult to stitch in the car, when we visit places, like when we visit when we go back to North Carolina to visit, or when we take long trips. It is kind of a little bit harder to stitch in the car. Like, I can't take certain projects because it'll be harder for me to see. I have to take more simple projects. But other than home and work, I do take my stitching to work several days a week, and I will stitch in a car on the way to visit family. That's the only place I take my stitching. That's all for that one. May have time for one or two more, depending on what they are. Let me make sure I haven't done this one already. Yeah, I've already done that one. I'll do this one. I'm going to try to do this one. Just looking at the questions. May require some thought. I'm going to do the stash enhancement tag. Originally posted by our own Stash Queen on July the 12th, 2015. Number 1, what is your favorite pattern in your stash that you haven't started yet? I think I may have already answered this one in a different tag. My favorite pattern in my stash that I haven't started yet would probably be again, it's a toss-up. I have several favorites, and I've already answered that question earlier. So it's a cross between a couple of my recently acquired Heids, my lavender and lace projects, and a couple of my magazine patterns, more specifically the woven cross that I wanted to start in May but didn't. I don't have one favorite pattern, but I have a mix of patterns that I love in my stash that I can't wait to start on, that I'm kind of being held back on right now. What has kept you from starting it right now? What's kept me from starting it is that I can't have 100 whips going at one time. I need to get some down before I start anything else. 5 starts in May? That's enough. I need to get some of these down before I start anything else. Number 2, what is your favorite non-pattern item in your stash? My favorite non-pattern item? I love my bag of Krennics. Don't know what I would use them for, but I love my bag of Krennics. And fabrics. I have lots of pretty little fabrics. Number 3, what do you have the most of in your stash? Patterns, floss, fabric, or other? It would probably be a toss-up between the patterns, the floss, and the fabrics. I don't have a lot of floss though. I only have a DMC set. And then a few extras. I would probably go with I have more patterns. Because I do have a lot of fabrics. But I would say it's really only a couple of dozen different fabrics. So yeah, I would say I'd have more patterns, because I don't have just individual patterns. I have several books of patterns, like a good 10 to 12 books of patterns, and some of them can have like 100 patterns in them or 50 patterns. So I would say my pattern stash is probably larger than my fabric stash. Number 4, besides your LNS and the big box craft shops, where is your favorite place to buy stitching supplies? Probably like everybody else, 123 Stitch. I don't really have an LNS. I have an LNS in North Carolina when I drive 5 hours back home, but I don't really have an LNS close by me that I know of. I know I've looked online on Google, and I've come up with several names of places, but I haven't actually been to check them out yet, to, you know, investigate. So, yeah, 123stitch and Amazon. Name one item you have purchased that was not meant for cross stitch use that you have repurposed for your craft. I actually had this little baggie, and it's meant to be a little makeup bag. This keeps my highlighters and stuff like that. It's a very small bag. Keeps my highlighters, my extra needles, my thread heaven, all that good stuff in there. That's the only thing that wasn't meant for cross stitch that I used for cross stitch. So, I mean, that's the only answer I have, is just my little makeup bag that I have my my little bits and bobs and stuff in. Number 6, name one item in your stash that you were unable to purchase after seeing someone else with that item. Q-snaps, probably. I'm not easily enabled. I did purchase some things from Brooks Books when she had her big sale, because I see a lot of people talking about Brooks Books on Flosstube. But the patterns that I picked out on Brooks Books is not items that I see a lot of people doing. So that's probably the only thing I purchased that I see a lot of people, that I've been enabled, quote unquote enabled to buy, would be Q-snaps. And grime guards, stuff like that. Q-snaps, grime guards, needle minders. Yeah. Not specific ones, but just in general. If someone asked you what was the one must-have pattern that they had to have in their stash, which pattern would you recommend? If I had to say any pattern, not necessarily a pattern in particular, but a designer, I would say Lizzie Kate, because they're super fun, they're super easy, and she has so many different styles, so many different things, that surely you'd find something. She has everything from the little flip-its and the little simple small ones, all the way up to the gigantic, like ABCs and ABCs of parenting, dog lessons and cat lessons from people, and ABCs of faith. She has so many different kinds of patterns. I think everybody should have a Lizzie Kate in their stash. At least that much. And finally, number 8, if someone asked you what one designer they had to check out to enhance your stash, who would it be? Yeah, I totally missed this question. Again, Lizzie Kate. That's all I can say. Lizzie Kate. Let's go back to the pattern one. It's an entirely personal thing. Not everybody likes the same thing, so I can't suggest one pattern that would fit everybody. I can't do that. I just can't do it. I mean, I could go off and say some type of black work design, but there's so many different types, there's so many different styles that it's hard to pick just one. So yeah, I don't know if I could answer that one. It's just entirely a personal thing. And that would be all for that one. I could do this one. This is Adele's Stitching Confession Tag. And I'm going to say this is probably, this is probably before she came up with the For Reals Though tag. Because this was in October 14th, 2015, Adele's Stitching Confession Tag. It's one question. And it says, you have a stitching confession you'd be willing to share. I have a stitching confession. And for me to share it, I hope I don't lose any friends over this. And I hope I don't lose any friends over this. I cannot bring myself to love memorabilias. I can't do it. Lavender and laces is already on the edge of the spectrum. Like, there's only a few certain patterns that I love enough to stitch. But I cannot bring myself to love a memorabilia. And I've seen them stitched in person. And I just cannot do it. I'm not mermaids or fairies or dragons or anything like that. I cannot. And I doubt I ever will purchase a memorabilia because I don't like them enough to purchase one. If you ever see me purchase a memorabilia, that means something, and it's probably going to be maybe something in the future that hasn't been released yet. But something about it is going to wow me, and I haven't found that yet. Sorry. I just don't know if it's the ladies or what it is, but I'm sorry. That's my stitching confession. I don't like memorabilias. I cannot bring myself to purchase a memorabilia because I don't like them enough. Sorry. Yeah. And yeah, that's the only question in that tag. We'll do one more, and then and then that'll be it because I'm already like a lot. I'm already gonna have to cram 2 videos together. The Teeny Tiny Tag, originally done by Amanda Stitching on December 9th, 2015. Question 1, when stitching a design with a face, do you do the eyes as you go or at the end? It depends on the pattern. If I'm doing, say, something like a Clouds Factory, I'll do them at the end. However, with like my Soda Stitch designs, I went ahead and stitched the couple of stitches that were where the eyeballs are, that, you know, you have to go back and back stitch to actually make the eye pop out. It just depends on the individual design, and it also depends on how I feel. But for the most part, I think I will probably do them nearer to the end. I don't know. No, I think I would probably do them as I go. It just depends on what I feel like working on that day. Number 2, what is the most unusual thing you use for cross stitching? I don't guess I use anything unusual for cross stitching. I mean, I use regular thread and floss and fabric and a pattern. So no, I can't say that I use anything unusual for cross stitching. Next question. Number 3, have you ever moved on to something more up to date only to end up going back to how you originally did it? I'm not 100% sure what this means, I think I have an idea of the concept of this question. Like when I did my, like when I'm doing my Dale Earnhardt Jr. one, the way I initially did him on 14 count Ada, and I hated it. So it would be like if I restart him on 18 count, and then I just want to end up going back to 14 count. But actually have not ever done that before, so I can't say. Because I haven't actually ever moved on to something else that I would go back to. I don't know if that makes any sense. I haven't done that yet. And number 4, do you have to hide your haul / stash? I don't have to hide my stash. I may sometimes have to not mention new things. I don't really mention new things when I get them. I find it works out better if my boyfriend doesn't know how much money I spend on cross stitching, especially since I'm supposed to be more financially responsible. But no, generally I don't hide it. If he does ask about it, I will tell him, but I may fudge a little bit on how much it cost me, or I may downplay how much it cost me. But it's not like I spend that much anyway, really. I am responsible enough so that, you know, if I know money's tight right now, I'm not going to go spend $100 on 1, 2, 3 Stitch. And I'm not going to put myself in the situation of going to visit an L&S or craft store for that matter if I know I don't have the money to spend. But that doesn't mean that I won't, you know, spend $20 or $30 or $40 on a few things, but I know how much I can stretch my budget and how much I can't. So I try not to spend too much, and I try not to put myself in positions where I'm going to spend a lot of money that I don't have to spend. So that'll be all of the tags for today. I think that's enough. I am going to get these together, and I am going to try to post the links to the original videos in the description, so that you can keep up with all the fun. There are a couple that may not be around anymore, and I will make note of that for the ones that do. I will make note of the ones that aren't around anymore in the description, like Stitchin' Fisch, her tag is no longer around, so I would probably just make a note of it, say video deleted. So things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. I hope you got a good bit of stitching done. I got a little bit done. I think I got maybe 100 stitches. Yeah, I talk more than I stitch, so maybe for my Stitchiversary, maybe I'll do something else. We'll see. So that's it for me today, guys. Have a great stitchy week. Have a blessed week as always, and I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.